So, how did a monster not only storm my wedding night, but also end up taking the life of my newlywed wife? To answer that, I have to take you back to the very beginning of my sin, the night I decided I could play God. And in doing so, my own creation destroyed everything I ever loved. You see, I wasn't always this broken man you see before you. I was this brilliant young scientist, completely obsessed with one question: what truly separates life from death? That single question consumed me. While others my age dreamed of love or fortune, my dreams were filled with lightning, with blood and bone, with the secret hidden spark that makes a heartbeat. I was determined to uncover the very secret of existence itself. In a state that I can only now describe as madness, I began to build what no human had ever dared to attempt: a living being, crafted not by nature, but by my own two hands. I gathered what I needed from the unsettling quiet of graveyards and the grim reality of slaughterhouses. I stitched together a body, tall, powerful, flawless in its design, or so I believed. For months, I labored without rest, driven by an obsession that burned through my veins like a fever. Every waking moment was dedicated to this singular, monumental task. And then, one fateful night, the storm came. Lightning split the sky, illuminating my laboratory in brilliant, terrifying flashes. As I stood over the lifeless form I had so painstakingly made, I channeled the raw power of the storm. Electricity surged through my creation, a jolt of pure, untamed energy. And then, it moved. Its eyes fluttered open. It took a breath. My God, he was alive. But in the very moment that triumph should have filled my heart, I felt only a profound, chilling dread. What I had made wasn't a man, but a living nightmare. His eyes were a watery yellow, his skin was stretched unnaturally tight over his muscles and arteries, and his face twisted all my beautiful dreams into a grotesque horror. I couldn't bear the sight of him. In a panic, I ran. I just ran. I left him there, abandoned, terrified, and utterly alone in a world he didn't understand. I tried to convince myself it was over, that he would simply fade away into the shadows and be forgotten. But he didn't. He learned. He watched from the fringes of society. He suffered unimaginable loneliness. And while I desperately tried to forget what I had done, he began to understand the true purpose of his existence, the one I had given him: misery. Months later, tragedy shattered my world. My youngest brother, the sweet and gentle William, was found murdered. I rushed home to a family consumed by grief and shock, but deep down, a cold certainty gripped me. I knew it was him. My creature had returned. To make matters worse, an innocent girl, our family friend Justine, was accused, convicted, and executed for the crime. I carried the truth like a poison in my soul. I had unleashed death itself upon the world, and it wore the face of my own creation. Desperate for answers, for some kind of resolution, I fled into the remote solitude of the mountains. And there, amidst the snow and ice of the glacier, he found me. I expected violence, a final, brutal confrontation. Instead, he spoke. His voice wasn't filled with rage, but with a deep, resonating pain. He told me of his journey, how he had wandered, shunned by every single soul who laid eyes on him. He had tried to be kind, to learn, to help people, but the world had only ever given him fear and hatred in return. I was benevolent, he told me, his words echoing in the cold mountain air, but misery made me a fiend. Then he made his one request. He begged me for a companion, someone like him, a female who would not turn away from him in disgust. "You owe me this," he insisted. "Do this for me, and I promise I will vanish from your life forever. I will take her with me to the wilds of South America." For a time, I actually agreed. Perhaps I pitied him. Perhaps I was just desperate for peace, for an end to the guilt that was eating me alive. So I began again, in a remote workshop, secretly building a second being, his mate. But as the work neared completion, a terrifying thought struck me like a bolt of lightning. What if they had children? What if I wasn't just creating one curse, but an entire race of these powerful, potentially malevolent beings? What right did I have to inflict that upon future generations? I couldn't bear the thought. In a moment of sheer horror and revulsion, with him watching through the window, I destroyed the half-finished female creature before his very eyes. That was the moment he truly became my enemy. His face, once filled with hope, twisted into a mask of pure hatred. "I will be with you on your wedding night," he hissed, the promise hanging in the air like a death sentence, before he vanished into the darkness. I tried to believe it was just an empty threat. I returned home and married my beloved Elizabeth, my childhood sweetheart, hoping that our love could somehow conquer the fate he had promised. But on the night of our wedding, as a storm rolled over the mountains, mirroring the one that gave him life, I heard a scream. It was a sound that will haunt me until my dying day. By the time I reached our room, it was too late. She lay lifeless on our bed, her eyes wide in terror. My monster had kept his promise. That night, something inside of me died too. All that remained was a burning desire for vengeance. I swore I would hunt him to the ends of the earth, and I did. I chased him across forests, over mountains, even into the frozen wastes of the Arctic Sea. We were bound together, creator and creation, our mutual hatred the only thing fueling us. My only goal was to end his life, or die trying. But nature is cruel, and my mortal body failed me long before my obsession did. When a ship's captain found me adrift on a shard of ice, I was half dead from cold and exhaustion. I told him everything, my entire sordid tale. I confessed how my ambition had blinded me, how I had dared to create life only to bring about so much death. And as I lay there, dying in that ship's cabin, I thought perhaps it was finally over. But then, he came. My creature. My shadow. He found me even there. He stood over my lifeless body. And the captain told me he wept. "He was my father," he said, his voice choked with a sorrow I had never allowed myself to see. "And now that he is gone, I too shall die." With those words, he left the ship, disappearing into the endless ice and fog. He was never seen again. And so here I am, telling you my story. My name is Victor Frankenstein. I wanted to be a god, and instead, I became the author of my own misery. I gave life to something I could not love, and in return, it destroyed everything I ever cared for. People are quick to call him the monster. But if you truly look at this story, at the arrogance, the neglect, the fear, you have to ask yourself, who was the real monster? Was it the creature born into a world that hated him, or was it me? Thank you for listening to my confession. Please consider liking and subscribing for more tales that explore the darkness within us all.